There we go. So we'll give it a little time while people transition out of one meeting into the other or grab lunch because it is the lunch hour and, heat up their food or whatever they have going on. But I'm super excited for everybody to join us today, especially in the heat wave that is attacking all of the Mid-Atlantic and some of the other Western states as well. But it looks like all of you are all comfortable in the chat, which is great. But if you do need something to kind of mull over or just have a topic of discussion, you can always drop in your reason for joining us today or just joining the group in general. Yeah, there you go. It's funny. You can always tell once it's been like 2 minutes afterwards because you just see everyone start pouring in.
Yeah, I can tell you just read that, Monique.
I did. You're always welcome. Even though I feel like sometimes, yeah, we share shadows.
Yeah, I don't think people give you enough grace, you know. What is this, year 9 with you, hanging out
Hopefully
with
we'll
you?
have a good idea when we have most people.
Yeah, we definitely have a good crowd going. And as we let people in, wait, there was an echo. Okay, I think we're good now. As we let some more folks in, I'm going to go ahead and get started if that's okay with all of you. So, if you haven't seen, this is being recorded. If that is not okay with you for any reason, no shame and no harm, no foul. Just know that we are recording this solely just so that we have a record of it. Anyone that's not able to join us today can also pay it and see what's going on, hear what's happening. There is a new YouTube channel where we will post those, but we're not using any of this information for anything that's like super public facing or anything like that. So today's agenda, fairly light. Like you said, it's a welcome party. So keep up your energy. Most of this is just going to be a little housekeeping, letting you know what this is, the reason for the season, if you will. We will do some leader intros, and then we're going to go around the table, so to speak, for everyone else to kind of introduce themselves as well. And then after that, I promised that there was polls and
Monica,
surveys.
you still there?
I am still there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you? Okay. So I promised some surveys. We will absolutely do that just for some future planning things to be able to kind of understand and see like what's a good time for us to join, what's a ideal day of the week, that sort of stuff. Maybe we will do some of these in person. So we definitely want to get an idea where everyone else is located, and then be able to plan around that. So, with that, I'm going to open it up to what is a WUG. So, again, welcome to this chapter and this group. This is absolutely an interactive situation. This is not something for you all to just sit there and stare at me, or us to stare at each other. There we go. So, this is interactive. We are a community of enthusiastic Adobe Workfront users. If you are not using Workfront and you want to just learn about it, you come to the right place. If you use it every single day, this is also why you're here. If you are someone that just has kind of dipped your toe in, but you're not really sure about it, this is your place as well. So, I joked earlier with Julie that anyone that is east of the Mississippi and west of Mason-Dixon, this is your home until there's some other groups that start up, but we are happy to have you and welcome all of you. So with that little housekeeping before we get into the fun of it, if you run into any tech hiccups, any issues like that, drop something in the chat or send an email. I do have my email open on the side, and we'll be able to help there. But again, like I said, this is interactive. This is where all of us, we kind of make it what it is. It'll be as active or inactive as we choose. So hopefully everyone brings not only your energy, but also just questions, concerns, ideas. You want to have a vent session, I'm sure all of us can commiserate together. We've kind of all been in the thick of it, in various things. And then also if you're just working on something really cool and you're like, nobody I work with is going to appreciate this, but I know a place that will, this is your audience. So definitely just make sure that you are participating and getting as much out of it as you want to. If you are comfortable coming off camera, just so it can feel a little more casual, friendly, inviting, go for it. But if not, we're not going to force you. A lot of you are on Zoom and Teams and all of the other things all day, every day. And this might be your one chance not to. And I'm not going to be the one to take that away from you. And if you are on your mic, just make sure that you are mindful of any background noise, not to cause any distractions. But again, I'm sure you've been in this for a while and probably know how to handle and behave yourselves on the internet with virtual meetings. So, Monica, you should have those settings, but if not, you might have to enable them on Chrome and leave and come back. So there are also Adobe House rules. So again, super simple, no self-promotion, don't pitch yourself, anything like that. This is a Adobe Workfront event. We're going to keep it to that. If you're reaching out to people, just make sure that it's consensual. Those sort of normal in-person conference things that happen also apply here to this space. So with that, I know Jody is having a little bit of issues with her camera and things, but if it's working down, I'll let you introduce yourself. If not, we can always circle back to you.
Fingers crossed. And here I thought it was Teams. And since we were using Bevy, I thought I would get lucky. Before I introduce myself, I want to take a minute to introduce Julie Wilson, who's our Adobe Program Manager for the Workfront User Group. So,
Hi, everybody. I won't be on future calls, so you can talk about Adobe without me being here.
So I will try that, Julie, if I get cut off again. But let me see if I can sort of try to get through my spiel. So my name is Jody Carana. I'm one of the co-leaders for the DMV Workfront Group. I've been in my current role as a senior marketing project manager at Unum for 4.5 years. Unum is an insurance company that's actually located in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we have offices in Columbia, South Carolina, Portland, Maine. In Atlanta, I myself am a remote employee based out of Fairfax. I've been in marketing my entire career, down to college internships. For the last 20 years or so, I've been focused specifically on project management, operations, and campaign execution. I've been a Workfront super user and system admin for about 8 years. I was very fortunate to attend my first Adobe Summit this past March, so it was very cool. The Unum marketing department actually implemented Workfront back in 2018, so when I joined late 2020, I was fortunate enough to come into a really solid, well-established instance with nearly 100% user adoption and some terrific processes already in place. We use Workfront to manage our entire asset delivery process, including project tracking, approvals, capacity planning. Even our legal and compliance team uses it, and I would dare say enthusiastically. One thing that we continue to work towards using Workfront for is sort of our planning process up front. And so we have been investigating and sort of talking about the planning tool functionality. So we've got 2 questions for you that we're hoping you'll share when we do the attendee intros. What is your favorite thing about Workfront, and what is your most memorable moment from past Adobe events? I think my favorite thing about Workfront is everything that you need to execute on a project is in one place, or should be, and it captures all of that information for historical purposes, including all the proofing comments, final assets, that type of thing. And then let's see, what is my most memorable moment from past Adobe events? There was a skill exchange maybe 2 months ago, and I walked away and with one of the cooler things I've seen recently is where you can highlight certain tasks so that they sort of jump out at you. So that's just the most recent thing that I can remember kind of coming away from. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Monique.
Looking at it, and no tech issues. So we're going to applaud your computer.
Yeah, right.
For anyone that hasn't met me yet, I feel like I've probably been on your computer screens at least once at this point. But if not, hey, everybody, I'm Monique Evans. I work at Stanley Black & Decker, where I am a Jill of all trades. And I mean that from beginning to end. So I started as a graphic designer. At one point, I was a project coordinator, kind of helped stand up our project management solution and just having project managers, which if y'all haven't been updated, we have those now. Super exciting. And then I became more of a like business analyst, strategist, operations minded team of one. So pretty much anything and everything that we try to figure out usually goes through my brain in some way, shape, or form. And then also just admitting Workfront in my spare time. I am from Baltimore. I still live here. And I don't know if Jody, you mentioned, but you're in Fairfax. So we are representing at least the M and the V of our DMV group. And outside of just SBD and work, I also just love traveling and all things entertainment. So if anybody ever wants to nerd out about any sort of TV show, travel, place thing, I'm into it. So feel free to reach out at any given point. My favorite thing about Workfront is its flexibility and just the fact that no matter what we throw at it, you usually can find some way to make it work. We have some really simple use cases, and then we have some really weird one-off things. And it's like, can we do that? How can we solve that? And we've still been able to find a way to solve it within Workfront, but Workfront cannot be a dam. I know that's one of the jokes that we have at one point. It's also not just a PIM. So it hasn't quite figured that part out, but for what else we've thrown at it, we have definitely solved that. And as far as my most memorable Adobe event moment, those are tricky, but I really appreciated going to Summit this year, and we were able to have our breakfast. So if anyone hasn't been to Summit, we do like a morning breakfast every day so that you can find other Workfront minded folks and just have a little buddy as you're going to all of the different sessions. And this year we actually expanded on that, and Julie hosted peer-to-peer sessions, which I was able to be a part of and help solve problems right there people were throwing at me. And that was really a fun kind of event portion, use of time sort of thing, where a little bit challenging. There are some folks that just have some problems, and it was like, okay, but we were able to at least come away with something. So enough of us talking about ourselves. We're going to turn this over to all of you. As Jody said, we are asking for your favorite thing about Workfront. If you've been to an Adobe event, share that as well. And then also just a little bit about yourself. And don't feel like you need to rush, because we do have 45 minutes and there is 12 of you. So we got a little bit of time. And if need be, we'll play the, Oscar music to get you off the stage.
Right. Thank you, Monique. All right. I'm just going to go down the participant list here. Agnes Ann, you are up. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm just here to find out about Workfront. I'm a professor at the University of Maryland and have participated in a lot of some of the Adobe training that they have for just learning about typical Adobe. And so I just thought I'd come in and find out what's going on at this level.
Yeah,
And
welcome.
Awesome.
I do outreach at graduate level, graduate programs, outreach at the university in special education. Thank you.
Yeah. What chapter of University of Maryland are you in?
College Park.
Nice.
It is nice. Thank you.
Happen to know, I believe that their marketing department uses Workfront, if I'm not mistaken. So, or at least they used to. Thank you. All right, Dr. Doug. I know we heard him before.
Oh, yeah, you're on mute again, Doug.
I'm on mute. My name is Dr. Doug Williams. Really am a doctor. I am officially Adobe Workfront and Fusion guy. That's all I gotta know. I've been doing it for 15 years now, Fusion since it came out. When I was learning Fusion the first time, seven and a half years ago, I learned it in the campground with a tent, coffee pot, fire pit. And I sat in there for a week in order to build my very first scenario that is still running today. And it manages assets. So that was my most interesting experience with Workfront. I can now code APIs by hand instead of using Fusion. So if I have a problem in Fusion, I actually go and look at the API, see what it's doing. Workfront itself, as I've watched it mature for the last 15 years, it's the database that I find most interesting because it's the most stable element of the application. Doesn't change that often. I look at Planner as my potential future horror show because of the ability to add fields on demand that undermines every premise of enterprise scaling that I've ever seen. So that the database is the key to everything in Workfront. I have to tell you that my most memorable event at an Adobe event was my first @task. That was when they spelled it with an @ task 15 years ago. I went to their user conference and I was assigned to help people as a new consultant, and I labeled myself crazy man. That was because I was doing my degree work in organizational psychology. And so I remember one of the gals comes over. She was doing all the coordination. She goes, "Okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? Everybody's asking for the crazy man. They want to get with the crazy man because you seem to know stuff." So anyway, that was my past history with that.
Very cool, Doug. Thank you very much. And I'll have to circle back with you and pick your brain about how you feel about the planning tool.
Don't ask my opinion on it. I'll be too. The database tells me everything. That's all I got to know.
All right, Jennifer.
Hey everyone, I'm Jen Mancini. I actually am not in the Delaware, Maryland, Baltimore area. I'm in the Philadelphia area, and I'm kind of, I'm a co-lead on the Workfront Phillies group. So I'm attending this call to learn from Jody and you, Monique. I work for Aramark, and I'm the systems admin, and I have about 20 years of project management experience helping my previous company implement Viva Vault and Monday.com. So I'm about a year and a half into Workfront, and I really enjoy Workfront. I think it's very user friendly. There's always a solution. It might not be the thing that the path that you thought to get to the end result, but there's always a way to get to the end result. So I really like that about it. I also like that everything can live within a project. So it's like a centralized hub of information because our department is doing about 4,000 projects a year. So we need a way to track the information and have it all live within one location. Memorable events. I was fortunate enough to attend Summit in March, and it was overwhelming and magical all at the same time. I think Monique, I recognized you and sought you out in passing because I feel like you're a little bit of a Workfront celebrity. So no, I mean, I learned a lot about Workfront by attending that event. I know some folks are on the fence whether or not to attend Summit if they are a systems admin or a Workfront platform leader. But I really learned a ton, and I came home and implemented a ton of the learnings and had a lot of discovery meetings about planning and other things that are coming down the pike. So I like that too about Adobe. There's constant evolution in ways that we can work smarter and not harder.
Thanks, Jennifer. Kaylee.
Hi, everyone. I'm actually in the same boat as Jen, and I am the other co-leader of the Philly group, just here to kind of see how Jody and Monique are running their kickoff call to help us back in Philly when we have our event later this summer. But yeah, so I'm from outside of Philadelphia, and I work for Toll Brothers, which is a home builder. And I am our marketing Workfront system admin, and we've been using Workfront for about 5 years now. And my favorite part about Workfront is, in addition to being a system admin, the main part of my role is actually working with a lot of our teams for process improvement and process implementation. And kind of like what Jen said, I just love how there's always a solution for everything. So a lot of our teams work differently or work with outside vendors. Some people work internally. So working with different teams and being able to find a solution that works for every team all within Workfront is incredible for us. And then I have not been able to go to Summit yet. I'm really hopeful that 2026 will be my first Summit year. But last summer we had like a local Philly event that like all of our Philly reps hosted. It was actually at Airmark. We went to a Phillies game after, and that was great. It was like a whole morning and early afternoon, just jam-packed of different user sessions, different tips and tricks. And I had so much that I took away from that event and met a bunch of people like Jen. And now we're co-leading Philly. So it was really great collaborating with other Workfront people.
Kaylee. Jeffrey.
Hey everyone, my name is Jeffrey Lash. I live here in Baltimore City in Maryland. I work at Under Armour and I'm a manager of creative operations. My background is in graphic design, production design, color management, large format print production. And over the last 6 or 7 years at UA, I've helped create a creative operations team. And that team kind of houses our Workfront admin and other production designers and our DAM librarians. My experience using Workfront is more of like a Workfront influencer. Over the years of Under Armour's Workfront instance, I've helped shape the tool and how our project managers use it, how our designers interact with it, the structure of our documents section, the structure of our task lists, the structure of our automated proofing templates, and things like that. Just to make sure it's firing on all cylinders for all of our different stakeholders and users. At Under Armour, we tend to over-engineer a lot of things, so it can be a little bit cumbersome from my perspective. But yeah, I'm here to learn from other folks how to undo some of that engineering and make it a little more streamlined and faster for our users. Most memorable past Adobe event, I went to Max in I think 2018, and Beck performed, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, happy to be here. Glad to meet everyone.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Lenora.
Hey there, hey everybody. I am Lenora, and I'm from Richmond, Virginia. So I'm part of the V of the DMV. I work at Capital One, and I am currently the governance lead within the enterprise team. So we're a pretty small team, but we have a really large user base. And previous to this role, I was a onboarding lead, implementation lead. And then prior to that, I was a group admin here at Capital One. Yep. So I'm like backtracking the pathway here. So I've been in the system for, I guess, since 2021. And my experience has just kind of exploded since I joined the enterprise team here. Yeah, my favorite thing about Workfront, just I'm really a people person. I think that's sort of how I ended up in the governance role. I love people, and I love that the system brings people together, teams, complex processes, data, and I think like navigating the process and what's needed within, you know, the overarching company to achieve goals is like so exciting to me to have like that umbrella view as a system admin, and then enabling everybody to get what they need, you know, down the different work streams, and bringing it back together for like data reporting, and just getting everybody on the same page to leverage what they need for, you know, all the different things that maybe they didn't even know were possible. So just, you know, making possible all kinds of cool stuff from a data side, people side, all that good stuff. Just a lot to it. And then I've never been to an Adobe event, so that would be amazing. I'd love to go to Summit one of these years. There's just been, you know, various circumstances that have prevented me from doing that. So yeah, we'd love to meet some of you guys.
Maybe we'll be your first.
That would be so cool.
Thanks, Lenora. Joaquin.
Everyone, it's actually pronounced Joaquin.
Joaquin.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just a fly on the wall on this one. A cohort of mine, Kurt Jones, and I are gonna start the Intermountain Region WUG, and so just stepping in to kind of say hi and see how you guys are running your meeting. We might adopt some of the same approaches as you are. I will still go through the questions here. So I'm in Denver, Colorado currently. I'm actually a partner now. I was a user with Chase, and before that, Transamerica. And so I also had a very fun, unique path to this, where I also started off as a graphic designer, went into production art, did print sales, then that evolved to sort of marketing operations and project management from that perspective. And of course, you know, being exposed to all kinds of different technology as it surfaces over the course of like the last 30 years, really saw Workfront as being sort of the, for lack of better words, the one size fits all, even though we have to readjust the sizing every so often. Sometimes we need elastic bands, sometimes we need a rope to tie it around, but it should fit most cases. And as a product features are added, it just keeps expanding on some of that stuff. I will admit, I think it's getting to a point that for new users, and I'm sorry for this, from the early days as at Task, where it was basically a glorified to-do list, it is now such a robust monster that it's better to focus on specific areas. Hopefully you can have some assistance and some super users or group admins to help you kind of focus on the other areas, because it is becoming very, very large, and it's hard to kind of know all the different moving pieces in its current state. The thing I like about Workfront, and I think Monique mentioned this, is there is always a solution. There is always a way to solve a problem. And what's nice is sometimes there's more than one way. So depending on how your users approach their particular work style, there's many different ways to do something. A great one is just to even look at like what is my to-do list for today? What are the tasks that I'm assigned to today? And you can kind of manage those in a couple different areas and see what's there and how to prioritize those things. So just remember that even if you can't find it the way that you're used to, it doesn't mean that you can't find it a different way. And sometimes it's just kind of stepping away and looking at it from a distance to kind of see what possibilities there are. And my most memorable moment in past Adobe's events was Summit, not this last Summit, but the Summit before. Shaquille O'Neal, of all people, DJ get together. It was bonkers. It was absolutely bananas. I could not believe I was standing in that space at that time, witnessing what I saw. It was incredible. So yeah, that was fun. And there's stuff like that at summits. If you do get a chance to go, there's always something there. And I would also suggest too, when you go to Summit, don't feel like you have to attend every single session. Find the people out there that are like you, even if they're not in Workfront. If they're just nerds about data, go talk to the analytics people. If they're nerds about how your sort of content chain is working, go find like Journey Optimizer or some people like that to talk to and stuff. And there's just a lot of Adobe nerds out there that you can find support from. So yeah, thanks Monique for hosting this. Appreciate it.
You're
Awesome,
always
thank you.
welcome.
Okay. Up next is Jocelyn, who, full disclosure, is my manager. So I think you're on mute, Jocelyn.
Yeah.
Should be down. Yep, I was going to say in the left-hand corner, next to the stop video.
Yep, we hear you.
I kept
There you
clicking
go.
on the little arrow next to it, which only let me select which microphone. I didn't realize I just clicked the microphone myself. So, duh. Yes, I'm here to support Jody because this is pretty exciting. I'm excited for her to get this group started. I, of course, work at Unum where Jody works. I'm an AVP in our marketing CXO group, and I've got a team of creative services, so project managers, writers, and designers. I act as a project manager as well because of the volume of projects we do. Although most of the projects do go through project managers, my team. Favorite thing about Workfront, because my memory is so poor, I love that I can just search on pretty much anything and find an answer about a decision I did before that I can't recall having done. So I find the ability to do search. It has pretty good, search results that come back versus other tools that I've used that don't. And I can see project descriptions or updates that have been made and be like, oh, okay, that's why we did it, or that's the person we worked with before. So that's what I love about it most, is like a record for instead of using my brain. And then I will do another shout out for Monique because I haven't been to an in-person Adobe event, but when I did go to Virtual Summit probably 2 or 3 years ago, I remember Monique as a standout speaker there. So there's a good reason that she's an Adobe star.
Well, thank you, Jocelyn.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jocelyn.
Yeah.
All right, Monica.
Awesome. I was actually just typing that I had to hop for another meeting, so I'm glad that you picked on me. So my name is Monica. I am also representing the M in DMV here from Maryland. I am located in Damascus, though the office is out in Lanham. Used to be Baltimore, so kind of all over the place here. I'm in an operations role, and I onboarded Workfront for our organization about 2 years ago, and it's been an amazing learning experience and transformation within our agency. We still have a lot to learn and a lot more to implement, but it has been completely changing our every day. It brings us a lot more visibility to our projects. It has a lot of organization that may have lived on people's individual computers previously. So it really just helps bring the projects together and helps make it visible and easy to maintain and easy to find things. So that's also my favorite thing about Workfront. My most memorable moment of Adobe events is I was in Vegas for an IBM event in 2017, and my IBM rep actually pulled me and brought me over to the summit. And it was the most amazing event ever that I convinced my organization to bring me to summit in the following years. And then many moons passed and I hadn't been, so coming back this year was really fun. And I mean, Adobe is just so innovative, and seeing all of the connectivity and automation and use of AI and the AI agents and how it can streamline our work, I'm really excited for us to get there. So I know it's probably a bit of a path for us to get there, but hoping we are moving in that direction.
Thanks, Monica. Julie, you're up. Julie Lang.
Julie Lang. Okay. There were two on there. I didn't want to jump in. So my name is Julie Lang. I am also at Capital One. I am in the McLean office. I, as my own person, represent M and the V because I live outside of Baltimore. But I am working in the McLean office.
Muted.
Am I muted?
No, we can hear you, Julie.
Okay.
We can hear. That is quite a commute, Julie.
Yes, it is. It's some days are better than others. For anybody in the Baltimore area, that construction on the west side of the Beltway, oof, nasty. But I just wanted to say that I am a direct result of Monique's connectivity to the Workfront community. I was working at Catholic Relief Services, working as a Workfront system admin. I was laid off in March at the end of February. And I knew Monique from different events and different webinars and things. And I shot her a note in LinkedIn and said, hey, this happened to me. If anything comes across your desk that's a Workfront related position, could you let me know? She sends me over, connects me with Leslie at Capital One. And Leslie talked to me and gave me the link to the portal where I could find a position to apply for. And here I am. So that's, for right now, that's the best thing about Workfront for me is the community. I mean, I've always appreciated that I could go to anybody in the chats or anything and just say, hey, this is happening. Does anybody have an answer? Usually I get more than one way to do it. But I really enjoyed that. So I came to Workfront in 2018 when I went to Catholic Relief Services, was a system admin. My background also is graphic design and production and print-based, and then I moved to a digital team. But I'm enjoying my new role here at Capital One and working with Lenora. And Mike, I see Mike on here too.
Awesome. All right, well, actually, Mike is up next, so.
Hey, can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Nice to meet everybody here. I see a couple familiar faces on the screen outside of my immediate team, so that's cool to see as well. Mike McGovern. I'm based out of Richmond, Virginia. I lead the enterprise Workfront team at Capital One. Lenora and Julie are members of my team, and we have a couple other folks that I think just weren't able to make it today, but excited to be part of this community. Workfront's been part of my entire career. I recently joined Capital One back in September, but prior to that, I was at Deloitte for about 10 years. I implemented Workfront at Deloitte in 2016, grew that instance, and then when Workfront was bought by Adobe in December of 2020, I transitioned to Deloitte Consulting, where I implemented Workfront for clients, primarily in telco and consumer retail. And shout out to Beth Rao, who's on the line and now works for Leap Point, but was in the trenches with me together at Deloitte when we were implementing at Walmart.
You outed me.
Sorry about that.
The consultant has infiltrated the call.
just excited to see you here.
Excited to see you too.
But yeah, so I've been doing Workfront for almost 10 years now. And I would say my favorite thing about Workfront is the reporting. We're doing a really exciting project at Capital One right now where we are pulling task level data out of Workfront and throwing it into Snowflake and building some dashboards and Tableau based on that data. And that has been a heavy lift to kind of get that out the way it needs to be, but we're really excited about the insights that it's going to provide to our LOB partners that are interested in understanding how long it takes to deliver on marketing messages, what things typically get in the way, and kind of what they should be prioritizing. So really excited about that. My most memorable moment from a past Adobe event. Way back when, before it was Adobe Summit and it was Leap. I don't know if has anyone here attended Leap. Kind of shout out to anyone that's been doing this for a while. I actually had an opportunity to present at Leap on kind of change management approach as it relates to Workfront. And I'm a firm believer that 80% of the work that we do as it relates to Workfront is change management. The technical stuff is the easy stuff and typically the most fun stuff too. But bringing the people along for the ride and making sure that their process kind of fits what we're doing in Workfront and vice versa is something that I'm really passionate about. So it was a memorable moment for me to be able to stand up in front of a room of a bunch of people and kind of talk to them about the necessary change management that comes alongside Workfront and ways that you can be effective in that area. So I would say, yeah, that was my most memorable moment.
Great, thanks, Mike. Let's see, up next is Kurt, who actually had the pleasure of meeting at the Adobe Summit a couple of months ago. So over to you, Kurt.
All right. I'm Kurt Jones. I'm remote. I'm in Denver, Colorado. I'm the other half of the group with Joaquin that is looking to start the work for basically the Colorado area. So we thought we would join into Monique's aura here and see what she's doing. I work for JP Morgan. I'm a Workfront Fusion person for them in their payments marketing org. My experience with Workfront is about 6.5 years of doing all that good stuff. Favorite thing about Workfront for me is just anything Fusion. It's kind of cool to, be able to think about something or have somebody ask you, do you think you could do something like this? And then you kind of play with Fusion and you kind of figure some things out. It doesn't always work, but most of the time it does. So I think for me, the Fusion side is what's kind of fun for Workfront. And my most memorable moment is 2 summits ago, standing next to Joaquin and Monique as we were listening to DJ Diesel do his thing at Adobe Summit. So that's me in a nutshell.
Great, thanks, Kurt. Elizabeth.
Hi. So I joined about halfway through. Sorry, I was doing client training. So, but I did not want to miss this. I actually rushed my client training so that I could join in the last 30 minutes. My name is Beth Rao, and I have been, well, let's see, I'm in the outskirts of Baltimore. I'm currently in Aberdeen, Maryland, if anybody is familiar with Aberdeen, right off I-95. As Mike outed me, I do work for LeapPoint currently. My main role there is solutions architect, Workfront solutions architect, and I also supervise a team of configuration consultants. My experience with using Workfront goes back to the time when Monique also started using Workfront. So Monique and I go way back. We both worked at Stanley Black & Decker, and when the organization purchased Workfront, she was responsible for rolling it out to one of the creative teams, and I was responsible for rolling it out to digital marketing. Long story short, I was then invited to do Workfront boot camp out in Lehigh by the Workfront folks. I went to a couple Leap events. Stanley Black & Decker laid me off 3-ish years ago, And then that was how I ended up meeting Mike McGovern. So I got let go from Stanley Black & Decker, and I was fortunate to land a job at Deloitte, where I was hired as a sales transformation specialist. But I did nothing but Workfront implementations for marketing organizations while I was there. Mike was able to teach me the ropes of consulting, which was amazing. I got great education from him on the world of consulting. And I got to reignite my passion for Adobe Workfront. Because I was aligned to a talent group that didn't fit what I was actually doing at Deloitte, I ended up getting let go from Deloitte and immediately went to the LeapPoint website, submitted my application. Now here I am. My most memorable moment from past Adobe events, as I mentioned, I went to 2 Leap conferences. The second one that I went to, Monique was there. It was 2018 in Nashville. My now husband was like, "Oh, Nashville is such a cool town. You've never been there before. Let's make a long weekend out of it. I'll come down at the end of your conference and we'll stay through the weekend." And he had ulterior motives to propose to me. So I love to tell people how I got engaged at the Workfront Leap event. And that's my story.
That's a great story, Elizabeth. I love that. All right, Rohitesh is up next.
Hey everybody, my name is Rohitesh Prakash, and I'm sorry I joined a little late because I was on another conference call, and then as soon as it ended, I thought I should not miss this and get an opportunity to meet people, and at the same time see everybody who is like-minded come to a forum like this and continue to, have sessions going forward that help each other. So I live in Ellicott City, Maryland, and I work for More, which is a digital marketing IT sort of company that helps out NGOs all over. And my role in there is the Workfront system admin, and I may be taking another secondary role in there as a system admin for Gen Studio implementation, which I just learned today. So experience using Workfront, about 9-ish years now. Prior to this, I was with Boeing. So at Boeing, we were building drones, and then Workfront was at the center of it all, wherein we were managing resources, costs, schedule, and budgets, trying to organize, coordinate those critical tasks that needed to go out the door. So over there, I was acting in the capacity of project manager, business analyst, and technical lead, along with system administrator. After that role ended, I came over to More, and have been at More since now. It's going to be 2 years soon. So favorite thing about Workfront is its ability, because I've worked with Jira, I've worked with the HP packages, and the ability that Workfront presents for people to know details, share metadata in real time is amazing. And then the level of governance that you have in Workfront, the granularity with which you can share data, and a very supportive community to be existing that kind of believe upon as and when needed are some of my favorite things about Workfront. Most memorable moment would be from the most recent Adobe Workfront Summit that I attended, and met a number of people there, including some of those that are on the call here. I'm sorry, I didn't put my video on because I got a rotator cuff surgery, and I'm icing right now. So forgive me for not sharing the video. But
we hope you recover soon.
Oh yeah, thank you. It's a pain. I don't know if any of you have gone through this, but it's mostly icing, physical therapy, and medication. These are the only three things. And then wait for the body to self-heal, which takes like to a year and a half. So, but anyway, so the memory at the Adobe event was great because I got to meet a lot of people. That's the key thing, networking, because the other things you can do on your own. You can learn on your own from your own domicile. You can go and do certifications at your own pace. The only thing you can't do is networking, which happens when you are better, which happens better when you are face to face with people in a like-minded environment like Adobe Summit. So I think for me that was the strength and the most memorable moment. I've got a list of people that I can lean onto. At the same time, I could see what Adobe was doing with all the other tools. And from that event, we signed up the Gen Studio deal. So here it is with Workfront and some other AI tools that we've got from Adobe. Very thankful for those. I think
Wonderful.
I think I've answered all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Rachel, last but not least.
Nice. Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry. I also had a conflict, so I'm only able to join now. So Rachel, I am actually in Charlotte, North Carolina, but grew up in Owings Mills, Maryland, where my parents still are. My family is in Howard County, so back and forth quite often. And as I told Monique, I am here until a Charlotte chapter can get stood up, although I might still stay here regardless. So, all right, I work for a company called Kyndryl. We are the world's largest provider of IT infrastructure services. We spun off from IBM about 4 years ago. So I was previously with IBM. My role now, I sit in marketing, and I am half system admin, half team lead, half I enjoy solving Workfront problems. So that's where I'm sitting. Of a very small creative team. We have some designers, writers, video producers, and we do about 1,500 creative projects a year across video, white papers, social. If you can think of it, that's what we're doing. So a lot of what I've learned about Workfront is homegrown. It's DIY. It's going to Experience League. It's going to, the past 2 summits, which I've been very fortunate enough to go to. So I think my favorite thing and most annoying thing at the same time about Workfront, there are a million ways to do things, which is both good and bad. And I think that's where I struggle the most. I'll go to webinars and I'll see people do things and companies do things, and I'll try and replicate it in my own small world. And it's either a great success or I spend the next 8 hours going down a rabbit hole, because there's so many different ways to do things. So, but I think that's also probably a plus. Most memorable, I'll share too. I think the networking is the absolute best part of Summit. That and the labs. I've gone to a few labs these past 2 years, and the hands-on training it's just amazing. So, yes, thank you, Julie. Cool.
Thank you, Rachel. Is there anyone that I missed?
I have a story to tell.
Go for it.
So I used to do public speaking for PMI, and this is good 17, 18 years ago. I met the founders of AtTask at the Kansas City chapter meeting where I was speaking in front of 500 people. And I remember talking to Scott, and I said to him, "Hi, I'm from Iowa." And he goes, "Yeah, we're building this thing." And I said, "Do me a favor, keep it as simple as possible." And then we giggled. And then I joined Workfront that 15 years ago, a couple of years later when I got big enough for enterprise. What was funny to me was their very first customer was Maytag in Newton, Iowa. and the product didn't work on site when they did the install, and the guy was doing his magic to get it to work. So that's my story about meeting Scott and being able to follow him around for a few years.
Thanks, Doug. And thank you everyone for sharing your background and all the great information. I have to say, I wish I'd met you guys before I went to Summit, because it would have been really great and I would have had somebody to hang out with. And so yeah, hopefully next year. So, all right, back to you, Monique.
Absolutely. So I just dropped in the chat, and I know we have 5 minutes left, which is perfect. We have a little active survey. So now that we kind of all know each other, know what we're doing, where are we going? What do we want to talk about next? So we are going to have more of these at least once a quarter, if not more. But what do we kind of want to talk about? So all of you should have access to this link that I just dropped, or you can scan the QR code and put the numbers in, your choice. But as you hit submit, the values should update. So there we go. You do have a limit of picking 5, but what would you like to talk about in future sessions? And truly just kind of listed anything and everything I can think of in Workfront itself. So as y'all are voting, if you do have a other choice, just put it in the chat or send an email on what you are thinking what that other could be. But it looks like for the most part, which I figured would be the top, is best practices in tips, which good for us is not only do we all have a bunch, but there are a lot of other leads on here. I'm looking at Jen and Kurt and some other folks where I'm like, I know y'all have tips and tricks as well, so we can always tap into some guest speakers and whatnot to collaborate. So you probably didn't realize that when you joined here, I was going to sign you up for extra work, but here you are. Yeah, it looks like, Fusion and AI are also, and governance are all at the top of the list, which we can definitely tackle in some future sessions. But that's not to say that we're not also going to do some help me solves and reporting and all of these other things as well. So. And just so you know that this poll is going to be live for at least a week. So if you didn't get a chance to do it, or if you're listening to the recording now, just know that you still get a say in things. There's also a second poll that we are going to send out as a follow-up to all of this. Let me copy link. There we go. That's what happens when I try to multitask, that you can just kind of give us a little bit more information. So most of you said where you were, and I kind of typed that down on the side. But again, things like what time of day, do you like the lunch hour? Do you want it in the morning? Do you want it at the end of the day? Do you want it on Thursdays instead of Tuesdays, Workfront Wednesday, whatever it might be. So that's kind of what this is covering. Again, I'm going to send it out as a post survey, so don't feel like you have to do it right now, but always like to give links whenever they're being shown. And for everyone that is here, make sure that you have signed up to join our chapter. So there's the events themselves, and then there's the chapter. You join there, and then you'll be able to get all of the email follow-ups, know when the next sessions are going to be. And I think you can also see who else is there, but if not, we also can kind of share that with you of, hey, I really wanted to talk to Rachel about XYZ. We can make sure that you all get connected and know each other. Thank you, Jody. There are also other events. So I know we're at time, but just letting you know, there's other Adobe events. Those are separate from ours, but you'll get a copy of all of these slides. This is when they are happening. And of course, Skill Exchange is coming back. So I know a couple of people said that was their favorite thing. I am actually speaking. Don't feel obligated to go just because of that. But if that is going to guilt trip you into signing up, you're welcome. But yeah, Skill Exchange is happening. I think, Kurt, you're also talking at Skill Exchange? No? Maybe?
I am. Yep.
Yes. So yeah,
I'm right behind you.
Nice. No
I will
pressure.
follow you.
But yeah, there's going to be a couple of great folks that are talking about some fun things, including some of those best tips and tricks and whatnot. So look at that, right at 1 o'clock. So thank you all for joining today. I hope you had fun getting to know everyone, and we'll have another one of these soon enough.
Good to see you, Monique and Mike, and nice to meet
Thanks,
everyone
Monique.
else.
Nice to meet everyone.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
folks.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.